You are listening to the Run the Rack Outdoors podcast, where we take an all-in, leave no doubt approach to all things adventure hunting. From the big woods to the high country.
How about that?
Let's learn together as we discuss with our expert guests on what it takes to be successful in the backcountry. I'm your host, Weston Homa. Let's get into it. Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in for another episode this week of the Run the Rack Outdoors podcast. This week I got my good buddy Garrison Kinsel. Garrison lives out in Colorado. Garrison originally grew up in Texas, been hunting the West, and then he finally moved out to Colorado a few years ago. And if you check out Garrison's page, me and him kind of just connected through social media, keeping in touch. He's really been getting it done in the late season. So we dove a lot into that, hunting late season elk and mule deer, specifically because Colorado used to have a over-the-counter Colorado archery season. They just got rid of it last year. Now everything is at a draw that you have to get in the deadline, which at the time of this recording, it's already past the draw deadline of April 1st. So your only option left if you want to go hunt elk in Colorado is an over-the-counter tag in the second and third rifle season. So we get all into that. We talk about different tactics, how to get on elk in the late season, and just a bunch of little good nuggets there. So Garrison's a great dude, great killer. Loved having him on, and hope you guys like the episode. Really thank you for tuning in again this week. Any other Western hunting deadlines coming up? I do see, so Utah is April 24th. Real unfortunate this year. Utah really just jacked the prices on all their tags. I think a general deer tag now is about $800. I mean, it's tough, but if you're playing the points game there, you're looking to apply, that deadline is on the 24th of April, so do not miss it. Anything else going on? I think just for me, just been getting my bow tuned. I'm looking to maybe do 4-fletch this year with my 2-blade fixed iron will. I really want to keep the weight of the same. I had great success with it last year. No complaints. I'm going to go to the AAE hybrid. No, I had the AAE hybrids. Longer vein, shorter profile. I think I'm going to go with the AE HPs now. Shorter vein, higher profile, but run that in 4-fletch. At the end of the day, my weights between the two arrows probably going to stay the same. Fletched one, cut the fletchings off, shot that through paper, and I'm getting that tuned. Maybe I might shoot my fixed blades at distance just to make sure. Just see how both fly. So might stick with the old 3-fletch, might go with the new 4-fletch, smaller veins. We'll see. That's what I got going on, and then just training hard, doing a ton of e-scouting. Can't wait. Me and my buddy were hunting deer in Colorado that hopefully we draw. Sending some Onyx pins last night, and it's just, I mean, that's what we talk about here. It's just the lifestyle. If this is what you want to go do, it's year-round. I mean, we're sitting here in March and just doing some e-scouting. Just absolutely love it. And then just training hard, running hard. Body feels really good. I knocked out a really good long run today and just feeling good. So, all right, I hope everybody has had a good week to this point, and let's close out the week strong. Let's get after it. Let's give it all we got, and let's run the rack, everybody. All right, episode 2 with Garrison. Hope you like it. All right, everybody, welcome back to the podcast. Thanks for tuning in. I got my buddy here, Garrison Kinsel, and Garrison's here from Colorado. How's life out in Colorado, man?
It's good. It's good right now. Everyone was freaking out this weekend because we just cracked into the 80s, and we're kind of starting to sniff spring. But then we're gonna get hit with one of those last big dumps of snow here in the next week or so, and that'll probably be it for a little while, and then we'll get back to spring. And yeah, I'm excited. It looks like it's gonna be a pretty good summer, and I think all the watersheds are solid. So it's like we were talking about with fishing. I don't think there's a ton to complain about. I think we should have enough runoff, but I'm now at the point where as long as the deer aren't getting waxed up here with the crazy winters, I'm happy. So looks like things have been pretty mild, so we should be good.
Good deal, man. Well, I wanted to get Garrison on today. Garrison and I don't know, have been just following each other, touching base here and there, talking hunting. And I see Garrison is just one of those guys. He's just another one of those guys that just gets it done. He just eats, sleeps, and breathes elk hunting, mule deer hunting. And if you see on his Instagram, he's a lot of like the later season elk and mule deer, which I think is also awesome. I've had my few late season hunts at this point, And dude, I will say I feel like rifle hunting, these like big game out west gets a little bit of a bad rep because everybody wants
Mhm.
to say like how hard like bow hunting is. And like it's hard, don't get me wrong. But what
Yeah.
I've already said, and like I've been out there doing it, if you want to backcountry hunt at camp, you're dealing with way more of the elements, and you're also dealing with like there's a reason why like rifle season is end of October for elk and it's not in September. And I
Yeah.
think you know what I mean by that. Like,
Oh yeah.
would you agree? Like, it, dude, it's still not. It's like not an alley oop just because you have a rifle.
No, yeah, no, not at
Yeah,
all. And honestly, there's times on some of these elk hunts and the deer hunts when, dude, that snow hits and they all kind of move to their winter range or their wintering spots, and with that snow they pop, and it kind of makes you think like, dude, this isn't even fair.
yeah,
But then you have to go get them,
right.
and then you realize like all the elements that you're having to endure, and like you mentioned, like backpacking takes that to a whole new level, and yeah, dude, it's definitely not a layup. Like it's a lot more than I think a lot of people understand. And the funny thing for me, I'm sure you can sympathize with this coming from out east. A lot of my buddies from back home in Texas, because of the whitetail hunting culture, are like, "Oh, well, dude, I don't want to go hunt mule deer or elk unless it's with a bow." And I have to tell them like, "Dude, this isn't whitetail. Like, you don't have to make it hard. It is inherently hard from the beginning. So don't go casting stones on the rifle hunt until you come try one. They're just, and they're at the same time they're kind of apples and oranges. Like the early season deer hunts and elk hunts, like what you're doing, it's just so different in a lot of ways. So it's hard to really even compare the two. But yeah, they've definitely got their own difficulties.
Yeah, for sure. I would say back east here, maybe even down in Texas and anything like that for whitetails. Yeah, rifle hunting, it is probably a
Yeah,
step easier. I'd attest to that. Being somebody from Pennsylvania that's deer hunted a lot, but
yeah.
no, out there, man, like it's the next level with the weather and everything. And I kind of want to get into this a little bit, especially with the elk, because I'm trying to want to make sure I get like practical for the listener who's maybe like trying to go the first time, like out west from
Hmm.
back east. So if people aren't familiar with like Western hunting tags and what's going on with everything right now, there's not a whole lot of opportunity anymore to just hop in your truck right before season and drive out there and buy a tag at Walmart and go hunting. I mean,
Yeah.
we could do that for Colorado for the longest time for archery hunting, but that's gone away. So it shouldn't be too terribly difficult to get those tags. I wouldn't think for a couple of years. You just probably got
Hmm.
to put in the draw.
Yeah.
But the only opportunity to still do that, hop in your truck, go buy a tag, is in the second and third rifle seasons in Colorado, which
Hmm.
are end of October, and then it takes a break, comes back in November. So maybe to the guy listening who's thinking about it, sees that opportunity, and he's like, I don't know anything about these points. I don't know what draw you're talking about. I just want to go and hunt an elk.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much your last option. So I did kind of want to get into that hunting a little bit because that's hunting. That's some hunting I've done too.
Yeah.
And talk a little bit about how you go about it and what's worked for you and things like that. So maybe maybe take us there. So that
Yeah.
October season's coming up. What have you done before we even get there? Like, what have you done prior?
So if I'm coming out here from out east, or like I've been doing historically coming from Texas, um, the first thing I'm gonna do is obviously pick the area, right? The difficulty with the OTC tags, it's a blessing and a curse. You have free reign to run all over the state. There's a million units to pick from in Colorado, and that's great. But you do need to pick an area. And I've had a lot of guys say, "Well, how do you do that? How do you start?" To be honest, it's kind of arbitrary. You really just pick a type of terrain you want to hunt, maybe a location that's got some value to you because of the town nearby, or you've been there, or grandma used to go there, or whatever it is. But you have to pick a home base,
Right.
right? And go from there. Now you may hunt that year and decide, wow, this is awesome. I want to keep coming back here. I saw a bunch of elk. I like this country, XYZ. But you might also hit it one time and be like, dude, the low country isn't for me, right? I want to go do something else. that's fine, but you really need to isolate yourself to one little pocket of units. For the first 4 or 5 years of coming out here, I hunted the same 4 units every single year. And four is a lot. That's a lot of country to cover. And within those four, I could be at the far end of one or the other within about an hour and a half, from one end to the other. But I got a lot of different country. But point being, I picked a home base. I said these couple towns, this county, that's my home base, and I'm gonna hit these 4 units and learn them as best I can. And I think the cool thing about coming back out here uh, over and over and over again is, especially on these OTC tags, like you mentioned, I know that if all else fails in the draws, right, or in your case, if there's a fire, and
Yeah.
I get all my plans get washed.
Yep.
I know, hey, there's a couple units here that I know really well, and I've got a fighting chance. So let's load up the truck and go hit it. So yeah, step one for me is picking that area, and it's tough. I will tell you on OTC tags, don't think that you're gonna data analyze your way into a decision, right? You're not gonna be like, oh, well, this harvest success is 3% better than this one on average. Don't do that. Find a reason that you want to be there and just roll with that. And if it seems like a good idea to you, just plant your flag there and make that home base.
Yeah, I think that's a great tip because people get so fixated on like, I just want the elk. I just want the elk. Like I don't
Yeah.
care about whatever. But this is probably where you're going to be spending time for the better part of 6, 7, 8 days, whatever you have your
Hmm.
hunt planned. And if it's not like, dude, for me, man, like I just get so excited being out there, and
Yeah,
I want to hunt country that like excites me, like
exactly.
big mountain, steep, might be a little tougher, but that's what I'm into. And if that's like what you want, but you're looking at uh draw result or not draw results, harvest success rate, and it's like, well, this unit has 9% and the other one was 6%. It's like,
Yeah.
dude, forget it. Go
Yeah.
somewhere where you know you're gonna enjoy the adventure.
Yep.
And when you're out there enjoying it a little bit more, you're more positive, you're gonna make better decisions, you're gonna stick it out. I think that's a great
100%.
like first tip. Like it's so easy, like to say, like first you gotta like pick kind of where you want to go.
Yeah.
And somebody first time might hear that and be like, well, no shit. But there's a lot of truth to what you're saying. Because I've been that
100%.
guy that's been like, oh, well, this place looks better and it has 9%, but this one has
Oh yeah.
10%. You're talking about a couple bulls. And look,
Yeah.
it's irrelevant.
Dude, when
Yeah.
I first started doing all this, I made spreadsheets and I had these algorithms of like, weighing certain metrics that would kick out a score for different units. And I was convinced, like, okay, this will point me in the right direction to the right unit. And truth be told, I've spent some time in a bunch of those units that kicked out the highest score, and they're not a hell of a lot different than any of the other units. So, like you said, you got to pick something that makes you want to get out of the tent in the morning.
Right.
And if you go somewhere and you're like, well, the harvest success here was marginally better, the bull to cow ratio was a little bit higher, but it doesn't excite you, you don't think it's pretty, you don't feel like you're in the game every day. What the hell's the point in being there? Go somewhere that makes you excited to be there and you um, feel like you've got a good chance. For some guys, that's also, mind you, that's like being closer to home, right? Some guys want to pick a unit that they know, okay, I'd rather be on the east side of the state because it's closer to this interstate and whatever. Cool. If that's your reason, go with that. It doesn't
Right.
have to be this complex reason. Pick something that stands out to you, and there you go. Hit the ground running and go from there. You're not going to
What?
pick wrong.
Right. Right. And it's still going to be hard as shit. So, um,
It's not going to be any less hard. Yeah.
yeah. So here's what I do, and then like I've done before, between a couple units, maybe I'm looking. I
Mhm.
go to like Google Maps. You go over that area in Google Maps. You grab that little yellow guy in the corner, and
Drop
you
him.
try to drop it somewhere where somebody's taking a
Yeah.
picture once. And if you
Yeah.
drop it there and you get like this big mountainscape or something, whatever you like, you're into, and it
Yeah.
makes you go like, "Damn, that's
Yeah.
awesome." Go there. Like
Yeah.
not
If
that
those,
exact spot maybe, but like that.
yeah,
Yeah,
but
that
you're
unit.
like,
Yeah.
wow, that landscape looks appealing to me, and like that's what
Right.
I dreamed of. And even if I'm getting my ass kicked out there, that
It's
looks like
still going to be
that
sweet.
looks like fun.
Right.
If
Exactly.
those crunchy granola people that upload those photos to Google knew how much they've helped us kill animals, I'm sure they would be so sad.
Yeah.
Because I've used that same tool plenty of times to just go, okay, like, what does this look like?
Right.
What's it gonna look like when I get my boots on the ground, and does that excite me?
Yeah. I find that
Yeah.
helpful too, like, because it's one thing to look at Google Earth and OnX, 3D and everything, but sometimes I like to do that tip too, to be like, okay, this is what it actually looks like. Here's a visual. And then when I'm
Hmm.
looking at maps, 3D maps, it just makes a little bit more sense. Like,
Yeah.
okay, that's how slick
Yeah.
that is and everything. So,
And it helps you romanticize it a little bit. And I'm a big
yeah.
fan of being a realist, but you gotta have a little like
You're a romantic too.
romantics
I
in
get
it and
it.
be like, you know what? Like when I dropped that Google thing down there, man, those aspens were bright orange, and I'm just picturing myself torching a bull in those orange aspen. It's like, okay, cool. If that's what gets you motivated,
Yeah.
then yeah, go there. That sounds
Yep.
great.
Because all
Um,
season, that's gonna be your carrot to get your gear, get in
exactly.
shape. You're gonna be thinking of that picture. Like
Yeah.
it's real shit. Yeah.
Yeah. And then you'll probably kill one in a rock pile that looks nothing like that. But
Right. Yeah. In
that's what
in a
got you there.
hellhole drainage. Yeah. Yeah. In a bunch of thick stuff. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um.
exactly.
Okay. Cool. So we found. We're going over the
Yep.
counter. We're going. We decided we're gonna hunt. So there's that second season or third season, and maybe
Hmm.
we're hunting that second season at end of October, which
Hmm.
I've done. So we got an area. What are some of the challenges you're running into though when you're going out there? That late season elk, like trying to
Hmm.
find a bull, trying to get away from pressure. I mean, this is
Yeah.
me and you could probably talk for days about this, but like,
Yeah.
yeah, just whatever is coming to mind first for maybe
Hmm.
the guy coming out for the first time.
Absolutely. The first thing that comes to my mind is you really need to emphasize being prepared. And what I mean by that is you need to have everything for hot weather, for cold weather, for snow, for rain. Because on one hand, you've got this finite amount of time, right? Whether you have only allocated a certain amount of days to this hunt because that's all you can do, or you're there for the whole season, even then they're 9 days, right? It's not like this endless season. You need to be able to capitalize on the time that you're out there. But the second thing is on a lot of these later hunts, the crappy weather is your friend. And if you put yourself in a position where you can move around, right? You've got your chains for your truck, you've got all the right gear to withstand a snowstorm. You're going to be the guy that's able to capitalize on that. And I know you know what I'm talking about because you killed that buck in the snow, whatever, a couple years ago, and it looked like a hell of a snowstorm. Um,
Yeah, that was some
but
lower country. We dropped down after we moved, but I'll share some more pictures of something. That opening morning, I took the
yeah,
crew up to 11,000 feet, man, because there was no
yep,
snow. I was like, they're all
yeah,
going to be up here. We'll get a
yeah,
little bit of snow tonight. We'll be all right. Dude,
yeah,
we spent the whole morning digging ourselves out.
yep,
It was
yeah,
horrible. I mean, it
yeah,
was awesome, but like never 2, 3 feet of snow, easy. And
yeah,
like we were just in our that Kafaru sawtooth, which is
hmm,
like nothing.
yeah.
And then I had my buddy, he was in my Hilleberg, and like he got up. This was his first year going. He got out of the tent. He was just like, I don't like.
What? Yeah, what
He
is
was like, I don't know if I
this?
have the stuff for this. I'm like, we'll get out. Don't worry.
We're
Like,
gonna be fine.
yeah,
Yeah,
but it's
but
you got to
like
be
you
prepared for all
saw,
that. Yeah,
yeah, and it happens in the blink of an eye, and it's never what the weatherman tells you, right? It's
yeah,
always gonna be a little different, but weather is your friend. So keep that in mind. Be prepared for anything. So that's the first thing that I'm thinking of when I'm there is okay, I'm gonna be there 5, 7, 9 days. The weather's gonna change, and I hope it does, and I need to be ready for that. The second thing I'm thinking of is uh, well, let me back up. When you're coming out here for the first time, one thing I would recommend is really considering, if you can, if the budget allows, having more than one tag in your hand. Because you're gonna encounter in these later seasons a lot of cross species, right? So you'll be sitting on a knob, or you'll be hiking through some country and you cut a bunch of elk tracks, right? And you've got a deer tag, or you'll cut some deer tracks and you've got an elk tag. But if it's your first time coming out here, I cannot recommend enough having more than one tag, because at that point you're really just trying to find success,
right.
right? Even if it's not your dream bull and it's a 3x4 3-year-old buck,
Yeah.
right? You need to go through the exercise of killing something. So don't get hung up on, whatever your dream trophy is. That will come in time, but try to get more than one tag. And I hate saying that because it's like we just talked about, tags are getting harder and harder to get. But if you're a first time guy coming out here, really try to leverage the opportunities, because out here, second rifle, you can get deer, you can get elk, you can get cow tags. And I think those are very, very underrated. Um, and the opportunities there are great. But yeah, focus on trying to paint a little bit broader picture. Um, I guess the other thing that I try to focus in on at that time of year is transition areas. I think that kind of goes without saying, but you're looking for mosaic areas, right? You want somewhere that's kind of in between the sage country and the aspen timber and the open meadows and the dark timber, right? You want something that's got a little bit of everything, because that's what the animals are doing that time of year. They're moving from one primary area to another, and everything's changing. Especially in that second rifle, you can encounter the first weekend being completely different than the last weekend in terms of animal behavior. So look for those transition areas. And then the last thing I would say, and I don't like talking about this a ton, but have different um, have different levels to your approach, right? It's great to have the tent with you and plan 2 to 3 days backpacked in, but it is just as deadly to have a couple spots that are less than a mile from the road, or maybe that you can even glass from the road, that you just keep in your back pocket and say, hey, if I'm down in the dumps, if it's raining cats and dogs, if something's wrong and I rolled my ankle, I've got something close. And ping pong back and forth between those two. It's not always going to be, hey, every time we come here, we kill them deep, and every time we come here, we kill them from the road. Go back and forth, and it's going to take a lot of different approaches. I'll say that.
For sure. I think that's a good tip. Just trying to be open to other tactics. And a lot of it's going to
Hmm.
depend on your skill set and your physical fitness.
Yep.
And I, so in 2023, I took that group out. My dad killed a buck. I killed a buck. Got on, chased elk, saw a couple shooters. My buddy, he had the elk tag. Actually, I did what you said. I picked up an elk tag too, but
There
was
we
trying to
go.
get him one. We had tagged out.
Yeah.
Um, ton of ton of hunting pressure.
Yes.
Really, like, I think that's a great tip. What you're saying, like, be prepared for these other things. But any sort of 2-track or anything like that, any pull off, dude, there was guys, and they
Yeah.
would just like have their big wall tents and everything. There was like a 2-track that went on top of this whole ridge towards the base of the mountain. It was loaded, and
Yeah.
that's where I first took everybody, and then we backpacked in from there, and then we got pounded with snow.
Hmm.
We came out, went all the way back out that road, went up another road, and then we were hunting like. So this always kind of confused me. Like, guys say, like, if you're hunting up at 11,000, or then you're hunting to like different elevation, like 8,000. Like, what I found, what that kind of means is like the ridge, maybe more or less the tops of the ridges, like the fingers that are coming down from
Yeah.
that high country. Not
Hmm.
necessarily like here's your 11,000, and then everything's just right over the side here. So
Hmm.
it's that next layer of country, and that's what it really was. As you're saying that, I'm thinking back, like those transition areas, bunch of
Yeah.
sage, kind of on the faces, and then it seemed like the east faces had a lot more of that open sage. The west faces, obviously, the north
Hmm.
faces, a little bit more timber, and that's where a lot of
Yeah.
the animals were. They were like
Hmm.
just transitioning down from that snow and everything, and we hiked in about 3 miles and set up shop. And at that point, this being our plan B, I felt a little bit more comfortable with that. Like, sometimes you might not even want to pigeonhole yourself,
Hmm.
but that was kind of the only thing too. Like, I think that's a great tip. Definitely have areas where you can just pull off in glass.
Hmm.
But if you're coming from back east for the first time, understand there's going to be a lot of Tom, Dick, and Harry's probably doing that too.
Every Tom,
So,
Dick, and Harry then you could imagine, and if they're from Utah, they brought the whole fam family with them.
yeah,
So get ready for that.
that's why I am, if you can, like, learn the art of it, get in shape, try to just get
Hmm.
that backpack in, and that could just be a mile, dude. Like, can you like?
Yeah.
I've been in spots where like it's like you're not even going on a trail. If you just get off this 2-track road and like climb up this little thing, hop over a mile, you're
Yeah.
glassing into a basin that nobody's
Yeah.
looking at. So
Yeah,
just
dude.
things like
Sometimes,
that.
sometimes I bring the tent and the backpack just for the hell of it, and even if I don't need to, like in reality, I could probably wake up at 3 or 4 a.m. and get back into where I'm trying to go just as effectively. But I like camping, right? Or
Right.
I want to use tonight to set up so that in the morning I don't have to get up as early and I can just roll out of the tent and there I am. But to your point, yeah, it doesn't always have to be wicked far in there.
Mm-hmm.
And typically in those transition seasons, it's not.
Mm-hmm.
You're just trying to get to somewhere that other people don't want to be, or they're not willing to go, or they just don't think to look at. But um, to your point, yeah, if you can just kind of think about it a little bit differently and make sure that your physical limitations can get you there, that's a huge key.
Mm-hmm. For sure. So at this point, the elk have already rutted, and the
Mhm.
deer might not be quite rutting yet, or getting into it a little bit. Maybe they're sniffing around. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think that second season goes into that first week November, so maybe.
Mhm.
I don't know. I'm curious your thoughts. What are you seeing kind of both species doing?
Yeah, it's so in that second season, the
And then we can
second
talk third
season,
too
yeah,
after.
the
Yeah.
second, I'll go second first. The second season is, I'll give you the pros and the cons.
Okay.
The pros are the biggest pro in general is when you're looking at the season structures for deer and elk, and it was really just for elk, what I'm about to say, but now it pertains to deer as well. They are slowly starting to add first rifle deer seasons. But on
Oh,
the deer
really?
side, yeah, there's a
Okay.
couple now.
I was just
Um,
googling the second and third season as you're talking.
hmm
I'm
There
not
are some
ignoring you.
first rifle deer tags, and anyone who's interested in that, do your homework. There could be some gems there to be had.
Okay.
Won't go too into detail on that, but yeah, do your homework and see if that might be something you could snag. But the biggest pro is that is the biggest second season kicks off the biggest gap in terms of rifle hunting that the animals have seen, or any pursuit that the animals have seen throughout the season, meaning first rifle ends for elk, and then I think it's about a week and a half, 2 week gap before second, right? And
Okay.
that's a time when they're transitioning. So in theory, you're hunting, I guess what you'd call rested elk, right? They haven't been boogered quite as bad. In theory, they've moved into new country kind of, or at least starting to use it a little differently. And now you're hunting them after they've been taking a nap. With the deer, when there wasn't a first rifle season, and in a lot of the units there still isn't. I think it's only a handful of units this year they're doing the first rifle, but um, man, dude, they haven't been chased since Muzzy, right? Or
Right.
or since the end of archery, and most
Hmm.
guys aren't even hunting the back end of that September archery for deer.
No, they're getting them early.
So that second rifle season, those deer have been untouched. Granted, they've been bothered by elk hunters here and there, but really that's the benefit of second. And if you catch that snow right for both deer and elk, that second is when you're catching them make that first big move, right? That's the first time they're going to go from wherever they've been all summer or wherever they're rutting down to start kind of staging for their wintering grounds. I won't say they're going to go all the way to the wintering grounds, but they do kind of have these in between spots they like to be. So that's the benefit there is if you get that first big snow, you are the first up to bat for the late season side of things. The con there is, as you can imagine, with it being a little earlier, in theory, there's a little lower likelihood that there's going to be snow on the ground. But man, from my experience, that just hasn't been the case. It's kind of a coin flip. I mean, some years second is what gets dumped on, and third is just a hot desert wasteland. And then other years it's the opposite. Second, you don't get any snow, and third, you get pounded. So
What'd you get
um,
last year? When'd you get the big snow? Because I
last
will
year we
tell you in
la
2023 it was during second. I was in it.
yeah, well, where was I at 20? Oh, I okay. I did the same thing as you, 23 during second. I was taking buddies. I didn't have a tag myself. And we got up at like 5 a.m. and I told them where we're going, and we went up to like 10,000 or something. But we were hiking in the snow as it's falling.
Mm.
And we started out, ankle deep or whatever it is. And by the time we got up to the top, it's knee deep and we're surfing. And they're kind of looking at me like, what the hell? Where are we going? But we were in the deer. I mean, they were just funneling through the spot. Um, and they were everywhere. And my buddy got a buck,
Nice.
uh, but
Anyway,
yeah, that's where I was 23. This year it was snow flurries, I'd call it during second, which is good. It's enough to help you glass and track. But third, man, we got smacked. Most of the state got hammered. I could not get to where I was going hunting with a buddy for 2 days because of how bad the snow was. And then when we got in there, we were post holing it up to where we were planning to be. And
yeah,
yeah, we got hammered. So, like I said, it's kind of a
it's a
coin
coin
toss.
flip. I think
Yeah.
now, yeah, I hunted 22. I forgot. I did over the counter elk tags. Yeah, one day of flurries. Didn't get
Yeah.
it. Hot. It was actually hot.
Well,
Yeah,
and that's the other thing when you're talking about Colorado, it does vary around the state. So 22
true.
is when my buddy and I killed two really solid bucks and a 6 point bull in like 4 days because we got hammered with snow. But other guys in kind of the southern parts of the state didn't get hit.
Hmm.
So it does vary region by region, but that's the benefit on second. On third, there's two benefits. On the deer side, you're more likely to be kind of in the center or getting closer to the peak of that rut. And that's the great part about that. You're really trying to hunt does, and even if you're not really specifically hunting does, you know that anytime you see them, you've got a fighting chance because there could be a buck on them. The benefit on the elk is they're more, I'd say at that point they're closer to their winter range, if not already on it. And the benefit there is you can say, okay, I there's not so much this where are they between point A and point B. We know they're closer to point B, right? And so that helps you out a little bit more. And especially for bigger bulls, that's helpful because they're more likely to stay in that little pocket if you find them. So third's just later, but if you said, hey, Garrison, I can tell you this year that second's going to have more snow, I would take second. That's the biggest thing for me. So
Yeah, that makes sense because you got to get them moving. Because
got to get them moving and you got to see them.
right, yeah, because I know, especially a lot of those bucks like during that time, like if they're not rutting, they're not moving. If the snow's not pouring down, they're not moving. It's just tough.
Yeah.
And then those bulls, a couple chances I had that year on bulls, it was like in those what they call sanctuary areas. It was like, what is the steepest, nastiest blowdown shit? And then somehow I got all the way up on the ridge without him busting me before I was 50 yards from him. But he was in all this thick shit and took off before like
Yeah.
I could even get a shot. But I was
Yeah.
like, wow, this is one of those sanctuary areas where they say
Oh,
like wherever you don't want to get a bull out of, like that might be where that lone bull is come second season. And
yeah.
that's just the way it is. But if you can understand that,
Mhm.
you there's that absolutely have a chance.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. And I'll say this, I'll kind of backtrack on what I said. Third, right? They're more likely to be in their sanctuary areas, the late season sanctuary areas. But the bull I killed this year, I killed him in, a late season sanctuary area, but I found that because I saw those bulls there 2 years ago during second. And it was an early snowstorm year, and those bulls were saying, hey, we're already going to go ahead and move down. We're
Right.
going to
They
go
don't know
move into
what
our,
day of the year it is.
they
They're like
don't know when
snow
Thanksgiving
here.
is. That yeah,
Right.
if they get hit with snow, they're like, oh crap, and they go move. That's what they do. So there is some calendar elements to a lot of it, and they've done studies on like the light receptors in their eyes and how they understand the calendar, but they don't know it's October 30th, right? Like if there's a ton of snow, they're gonna go where they know they need to be.
Mm.
So that's why I say if I could wave my magic wand, I would put my calendar and my hunting applications around snow, not around dates. Um, but dates do play a role more in the deer rut side of things, so that's important too. And then we can talk lunar crap and all that stuff too, and there's a ton to digest there. But yeah, that's the long short of the whole second, third, and then you can get into fourth and stuff too. I killed my bull this year during fourth, no trouble saying it, but they're not OTC, so that's why we're kind of specifically talking about second and third.
Right. And I do want to get into your bull though, for sure, because I think that was a
Mm-hmm.
hell of a story as well. But
That is
just
cool.
for the listener, so this episode, and I'll try to like remind people that the draw, we're recording this on March 30th. The Colorado draw, Montana draw is Tuesday, April 1st.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe you're hearing this with Garrison. This might not come out till the following week or whatever. So we're already missed the Colorado draw.
That's why we're talking
Still
OTC.
right. So that's why we're talking. Yeah, see, dude, I'm like thinking
It's
ahead.
on purpose.
Yeah. So it's like, hey, I missed that draw thing, that lottery thing to go hunt elk. Like I don't know
Mm-hmm.
nothing about it, but I still want to maybe go with guy from work. We got a week off, whatever. You can still do this, and you can buy these tags. You can buy these tags on your way out there. You can buy them from Walmart in Colorado. So
Yeah.
all the way up until then. So the seasons this year for second season, October 25th to November 2nd. I feel like that's a little early. A
Early
touch.
relative to the last 5 years. So this
Right.
past 5 year season structure was the latest it's ever been, but we're slowly working our way back towards what historically has been normal second season dates. So
Okay.
by Colorado's, historical account, second is still kind of late-ish. Um, Historically, it's almost all been in October. It never even really creeps into November. But compared to the last 5 years of season structure, yeah, it's a little bit earlier, and it's going to keep kind of inching that way. I will say this though, I was out on the last 2 days of second last year, and I was out all of third, and I saw this was just me personally. I was kind of in a weird spot for third, but I saw the best rutting activity of my fall on the last 2 days of second this year. Um,
Really? Okay.
hmm But again, it's all localized, right? I think it's just kind of where I was. I'm pretty
Exactly.
confident there were some hot does where I was, and the Bucks were raking, and they were pissed, and they were pushing each other around. And come third, they'd kind of settle down a little bit more, at least where I was. But I was in different ends of the state, so it's tough to extrapolate all that data.
Yeah. Yeah. That's completely different. I mean,
Yeah.
Northern Colorado, Southern Colorado. Yeah, that's like what you said. You're talking easily could get snowstorms up there, and it's
Oh yeah.
still down in the San Juans,
Yep.
80
And the
degrees.
Southern Deer rut later and all that. But yeah.
Yeah.
So second and third right now they're both still good dates for both deer and elk. And I would say even compared to a lot of other states, they're never bad. I mean, the fact that hell, Idaho, I know on a lot of their deer hunts, they wrap up October 31st, no matter
Halloween.
what.
Yeah.
Halloween. And even some of the other ones wrap up earlier. And I mean, you look at Wyoming, they won't even let you get close to the rut. So Colorado, even second season being a little bit earlier now, it's still great dates to hunt for deer and for elk. I mean, 2 years ago when everyone was complaining about kind of the lackluster rut that had happened with the elk because of the tough winter, dude, bulls were bugling during second, and like not like oh just
Hmm.
lazy bugle, like pissed off bugles. Um, so I'm not gonna say they were just fired up in rut, but I'm sure something was going on there that had them still feeling frisky. So my point is, second is still great dates. Don't let that deter you.
Good to hear.
Hmm.
So that's second, October 25th through November 2nd. And
Yep.
then animals take a break. Third season comes in November 8th through the 16th this year. So
Yep.
you can make it happen. You can pick up an elk tag, like I said, and that's your options right now for OTC.
And
I did
something
want to.
important to note on third is for guys coming out here, and I've made this pitch to some of my buddies that are coming out. Third for the last 5 years has been 7 days. So it's a weekend and then it ends on that following Friday. Now for the guy who's taken off a full week of work, it extends into the following Sunday. So you're getting a weekend, a week, and a weekend, right? So if you were coming out here and taking off a week for third, you used to have to take off that Monday to Friday, and you didn't even get to hunt the following weekend.
Right.
Granted, you can use that to drive back home and do whatever you're doing, but Now you can hunt until the final buzzer on that next Sunday. It went from a 7-day season to a 9-day season, so that's really helpful for guys wanting to hunt third.
That does open up a lot. Yeah. Okay.
Hmm.
That is really
And
nice.
second is the same format, so it does play well to guys who are doing the standard. Me and Billy Bob are taking off a week. We're gonna drive out there. Now you get weekend.
Yeah. Yeah. Very nice. Awesome. Okay. I, you know, been sitting here thinking, we're talking about these mule deer, these dates, the mule deer rut, and you mentioned that first season, have an opportunity maybe to hunt deer in
Mhm.
Colorado again. I say maybe. You said definitely. They're bringing
Definitely.
in some areas.
Yeah.
I think, yeah, actually, so now I'm sitting here thinking, I just listened to Robbie Denning, I think, talk about this
Mhm.
on Rockcast, but I can't really remember what's the rationale behind that because deer aren't, in generality, not doing as well as the elk out
Yeah.
west. So what's the thought of let's have some hunting, some more hunting, earlier hunting on these
Yeah.
deer? Do you know?
I know the thought on paper and I know what's been spoken, but whether that ends up being the full intent in the long run or the actual use behind it is a different story. I think Robbie's said it best before, and he's very right. Once things change, they rarely go back, right? And so to add these first season hunts, what they're saying sounds great. And what they're saying is we're going to add tags during a time of year that generally has low harvest success, right? That early October window. And the harvest from that will give us a means to take pressure off second and third, right? If they need to kill $100 in a unit, and typically they kill 80 of them during second and third, well, they're saying, hey, what if we issue 30 tags and get 5 of those killed or 10 of those killed during that first season? We can issue more tags and still hit our quota. And then now during second and third, we can cut tags a little, cut down on that pressure that's happening during all like, coinciding rifle seasons for elk. And in theory, that sounds great. What's probably going to end up happening is they're going to get a little revenue kick from new first season tags, and then all the buck quotas or harvest quotas for those buck seasons are going to go up. And they're going to go, oh, darn, we used to only take $100, but I guess the first season guys are doing well, so we'll just change it to 110 or whatever. And I'm being pessimistic here, but my point being there's a difference between what sounds good in theory and what might actually transpire. I will say this, if it does hold to what they are intending to do, I think it is a good benefit. You're giving guys an opportunity to hunt during a tough time of year. You can probably dish out more tags and you're going to spread out the pressure. So if it works as it's designed, then great. I'm all for it. And there's a couple units in there. I don't know the ones, all the units off the top of my head. I want to say it's about 10 or 15 units, right, that they're dishing out these first season tags in. But there's a couple in there that, man, like they're good units. And they would take a lot to get a second or a third or a fourth tag in there. And maybe a guy slips in there on a lower point level and can hunt a little bit better, air quotes, better unit for cheap in terms of points. So they're worth looking at if you're a guy who likes to roll the dice.
Yeah, for sure. Because you're getting deer maybe still just in their September vibe,
Yeah, 100%
which can be deadly.
can be very deadly. I think, you hear stories of guys that, especially on the old second season dates, would go kill bucks not too far from where they summer, right? Or not too far from where guys left them during muzzy, because, like I said, there's that big gap and the deer start to get comfortable again. If people are killing them up there in second, you can damn sure kill them up there October 15th.
Oh, for sure.
So I think if there's good high country in some areas, or you got a hunch on patterning some bucks and you feel like they're going to be comfortable in an area come the end of muzzy, yeah, hell, go give them hell. I bet you can knock them down during that first rifle season. But don't mistake that for me also saying on a broad level, it is a tough hunt. That is a tough time to hunt deer.
No doubt. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. So that all sounds good. And I did want to also talk about, I do want to go into your 24 bull It's a great bull.
Mhm.
People want to go take a look at it, but just kind of walk
Yeah.
us through that hunt.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know we got a lot to hit on, so I'll be quick. But yeah, like I said, I found some bulls in this area during second season 2 years ago, and you just kind of earmark it. And I was like, man, those bulls look like they're in a comfy spot. There's a ton of snow. That seems like somewhere I could hunt them late season. And what actually happened this year was like we've talked about, I've been hunting OTC during deer seasons, building points to eventually use my elk points on some kind of hunt, and I drew a tag, and it was a muzzleloader tag, and I was really excited about it. It's a great unit. Scouted it all summer, but I had a scheduling conflict come up, and I had to turn the tag back in. So I turned it back in. Colorado lets you get your points back, thankfully. So I got my points back, and I kind of was just like, what am I going to do with my, what's my elk tag going to be for the year, right? And I'd already kind of had my second season filled up with deer, third season filled up helping out a buddy. So that left me looking for a fourth season elk tag, and I got one in this unit that I knew. It's a pretty junky tag. It wasn't hard to get. I got it on the turn back list and went, like we just said, right back to one of those sanctuary spots, and those bulls were right where I'd left them
Mm-hmm.
during second season 2 years ago, and it kind of felt like a little bit of a pinch me moment because I was like, it can't be this, black and white, right? They're not just going to be right back where I saw them, and they were. It was a group of about five bulls and one. Yeah, I mean, they were all good bulls, dude. Like for an OTC unit, I mean, I wouldn't have turn my nose up at any of them. But some of them were broken, some were 5x5s and 5x6s, but there was one clear cut, like, damn, like for an OTC bull, that's a bull. And so they were up on this far ridge. I knew when I glassed them I wasn't going to be able to get to them that day. Made a plan for the next day. Got up really early, about 3 a.m., and started hiking in there so that I could come from the backside of where I'd seen them, hopefully get my wind right and make a better approach than if I'd have taken off after him when I first saw him the day before. Get in there, get my setup. Sun comes up. I think I know right where they're going to feed over, and nothing, and not a single damn thing that morning. And in fact, I started glassing around back behind me, found another group of elk, and kind of had this idea of, okay, well, this was tough, but I need to bomb out of here and go chase those other elk. Like I can't kill elk that aren't here. But I kind of said, you know what? No, like I feel like these elk that I saw in here are worth chasing. They probably pretty comfortable. So I just started tracking in the snow. And I followed their tracks. I kind of started seeing fresh tracks, old tracks, enough to let me know, okay, they're probably still in here and they probably like being here. And I tracked these two bulls into the timber, not really knowing where they were, or I can't take credit for saying, oh, I was on a steaming hot track and I was, freaking Jason Bourne. I just knew where they went. And so I kind of started still hunting my way through there and cow calling, and not cow calling in the way of like, I'm cow calling to get anything to come in. I'm cow calling just to sound like something else because it's crunchy snow, it's blow down timber. I'm just chirping every so often to say, hey, I'm not a hunter. And that was, I guess, enough for the bull I shot to stick around because as I'm tiptoeing through this timber, kind of working these tracks, I caught some movement. I looked up and uh, I didn't even see the bull in my binoculars originally. I was looking at a log and I was like, I could have swore that log just moved. And then off to the right, I saw a little twitch of a face and I go, oh, there it is. And I didn't. Again, I can't take credit for this. I did not know it was the big bull. There were two bulls there. I'd seen some big brow tines, and in Colorado, for it to be a legal bull, it has to have a at least a 5-inch brow tine or 4 points on one side
Correct.
in these OTC units. And I think in some areas, I would tell anyone dive into your regulations and make sure you're checking everything. I think there's some areas where they either lift that restriction. There might be some where it's more restrictive. I'm not sure, but from my memory, all the OTC units for the most part have that 4-point or 1 brow tine.
I'm confident in saying that. Yeah, it's the 4-point or
Yeah,
brow tine. It's your draw units where, yeah, there's
it can change.
it can
That's what it
change. You
is.
definitely want to read. My brother drew a tag and shot a spike. Like you can,
Yeah.
yeah. So those opportunities are there too.
And
But
some of those draws are also either sex. So if you just
right,
have a pisser of a hunt and you're happy taking a cow, shoot the cow.
hey,
Um, do it. You know,
that
I'd tell
archery
everybody to
that
do
archery
it. But
tag over the counter used to be either sex. Now it's
yeah,
not. I wonder, huh? I didn't look into that. I saw the list
I
of
feel like it's unit by unit now. And again,
maybe.
I'm not an
It
elk guy,
definitely
so
is. You have to put the hunt code for the unit for sure. There's a list in the regs. Like if you're non-resident and you want to hunt
yeah.
these units that used to be over the counter, there it's like there's like a Y in it. It's like a dash Y or something.
Uh-huh.
And I
Yeah.
don't know. You just got to read. I don't know if those are all either sex, like how they were for
Yeah.
OTC or not. But anyway, I digress.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
So
will say the big game brochure for Colorado, download it and Command F it, and you can find out pretty much anything you need to. So
yep,
it looks like a lot to swallow when you're first digging through it, but just if you're looking at a certain unit, Command F it, and it'll take you to what you need to know.
yep.
Um, so yeah, at this point, I'm walking back, not back to the truck, but I'm headed back in the general direction of the truck. I said, you know what, if that's a legal bull, let's take him. And I kind of had to, bird dog him a little bit because he could tell I wasn't a cow, but he also didn't know really what was going on. So he was just kind of doing that little curious walk, and he'd walk a ways and then stop, and I'd kind of follow him a little bit, chirping until I finally saw he was going to walk into an opening, laid my gun down and shot him at 70 yards in the timber. You do all this off season work shooting, hundreds and hundreds of yards just to punch one in the timber at 60 yards or whatever it was. But yeah, I shot him, and lo and behold, it was the big bull. So nice romantic ending to the story. They usually do not go that way.
Yeah.
I'm
Usually
can
it's
be
the
the
other way.
first to tell you that, but usually it's the other way. Usually I go, oh crap, I shot someone's dog. No,
yeah.
but
That's awesome.
no, usually it doesn't all pan out like that. But you hunt your ass off for when it does, right? And then you'll look back and go, man, I guess it didn't all go exactly how I thought it would go, but shit, you put enough time in it, and the good Lord throws you a bone every now and then, and that was my bone. But you look at it and you go, man, there was an element of luck there, but it was more preparation and time in the field than it was luck. You have to have a little bit of both, but most of my successes come from 70 to 80 to 90% of my time in the field and just being a stubborn ass hunter getting me there, and then the luck getting me that last 10 to 20%.
Right. It's still like any craft, going to come down to reps. And then for that time where you get that little, God just gives you that little nugget, you've
Yeah.
had 100 times where it was like you did all the work and then you still
Yeah.
got kicked in the balls. So it's
Yeah.
like you
He
take those
he
little
throws you the
nuggets.
bone, but you got to be there to catch it.
Exactly, dude.
So,
Exactly.
yeah.
So you definitely made it happen, and that's awesome. And I did want to talk about because I feel like when I was rifle hunting elk late season, I was doing that, bopping through the timber, especially midday a little bit with the cow calling.
Mm.
This was years ago. Maybe I didn't really know if that was right or wrong or whatever. Is that a tactic that you've kind of used before and have been effective at? Because it kind of makes sense. Like elk aren't like freaking my whitetails here in Pennsylvania. That like if you
Yeah.
go like if you just make like the tiniest noise, they're darting off. Like elk are
Mm-mm.
like, what's that? Who's walking here? Somebody
Mm-hmm.
walking here? Like they're not
Yeah.
as finicky. So cow calling, you're moving around. Seems like it makes sense.
Yeah. It's tough to explain to guys that haven't spent time around elk. But if and when you get in on a herd, you will understand why they're such vocal creatures. They make so much noise, even when they're not doing anything.
Mm-hmm.
I've gotten in on groups of cows and young bulls in the late season, just dicking around in a meadow, and they're just talking. I mean, it seriously sounds like a herd of cattle coming through. Um, when they're moving through timber, and then even when they're in the meadow, they're just constantly meow 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 meow
Yeah.
talking to each other. So if you get to a point where you know your focus is elk and you're in elk, I mean, there's been a lot of times I've followed elk into timber, or I've been walking through timber and I've cut tracks or I smell them, and I'll start doing that chirping just because I've got two dudes with me, right? And we can't keep quiet. I mean, we're not going to be able to tiptoe our way into there. So we'd rather just sound like a herd of elk than, a bunch of poachers. So we're walking kind of with a animal's cadence and we just chirp. That's the first time I've done it and killed something immediately because of it.
Yeah.
But I've done it plenty to the point that I think, yeah, I do think it does hold some validity. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I think it's smart.
Especially if you're playing the wind. Because I've been doing that.
But that's the big thing.
Yeah. And I've been barked at, but then I realized, like, oh, that might not have been my cows chirping. That might have been the wind just blowing right at them. And I got barked
Yeah.
at and they ran off. But other times when I got closer in, like in the timber, then you just bump into like cows or whatever, or bulls.
Mhm.
Like, if you're playing the wind right, doing a little cow calling, I don't think it hurts you. So
No,
if
not at all.
I'm,
But the
yeah,
key is like you said, you got to play the win right
that's
because
a given.
if
Yeah.
you don't have the win right, it doesn't. None of it's worth a damn. It would be like me walking through the park at night and I'm sounding like a hot girl, right? And I'm like, hey, who's out there? What's going on? And then all of a sudden you catch a whiff of cow shit.
Yeah.
You'd be like, what? You'd be, this doesn't make any what?
I'm running the other
But if
way.
you can't smell anything, then I'm kind of like, okay, I don't have anything telling me what this is or isn't. So I'm still curious. To maintain curiosity, you can't have anything that immediately refutes it. And that's their go-to to tell them what's right from wrong is smell. So get the wind in your favor and then yeah, you can kind of play with that.
Yeah, for sure. Guys back here, whitetail hunting for sure. Always being mindful of wind. They got.
Hmm.
I always try to pick up like little milkweed when I find it. It's just these
Oh
little
yeah.
like whatever you call it. I don't know. It's a great little wind indicator. I
Yeah.
have a bunch of it in my bino harness. That's more than good to bring out west, but really like little puffer bottle. I
Puffer
mean,
bottle's great.
you got to
Yeah.
have it and make sure you got it. Sometimes have it back up one in the truck because you'll be surprised. Like I've
Yeah.
gone and hunted for like 7-8 days. You're doing that like all day. If you're still hunting, bebopping in the timber,
Yeah.
like you'll damn near run out of it. Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's
And
and
there's
that's
so
your thing.
little, you'll lose one, right?
Or
You'll
that,
leave
yeah,
one in a bino pack or you'll leave it in a truck or whatever. Yeah, you bring. They're so cheap. Just buy a couple,
right,
bring them with you, and give them to your buddies because more often than not, the guys that are coming with you will be like, "Oh, that's cool. I didn't have one of those."
yeah, yep.
Yeah.
All good stuff there on how to hunt effectively late season, especially for the elk. Great, I think, for the
Hmm.
guy coming from back east. I did want to maybe I kind of maybe should have started with this, but so you're living in Colorado, but you're not from Colorado. You're from Texas, right?
Hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
So
From Texas.
when did you make the move?
Made the move. I guess we're coming up. We're not really that long. We're coming up on 2 years now.
Okay.
But I grew up coming up here to Summit County in Colorado, so like Breckenridge, right, and Silverthorne. And I grew up fly fishing. That was really what got me up here more and more. But as you get into college and you get a truck and get some gas money and start wanting to try new stuff. That's what got me into the hunting up here. And thankfully I met a woman who actually enjoys being up here. So we decided to get married and move up here and that's what we're doing. And it affords me the ability to hunt a little bit more. So but born and raised whitetail guy. So
Right.
that's where I feel like I can speak to a lot of whitetail guys is it's like you said, you just hit a really important point. There's a skill set in reading wind and minding wind and understanding it that you take with you when you come up here. Granted, it's mountains and you read the wind a little different, but you understand the importance of it. So there's a lot, they're very different, but there's a lot more to take from whitetail hunting to bring out here to help you be successful than I think most people realize.
Totally. I think something else, not to go full down the rabbit hole,
Mhm.
but we're always going to be mindful of the wind, but thermals are
Yeah.
playing the biggest factor. And where I live in
Yes.
Pennsylvania, it's actually so steep. We got some the Appalachian Mountains. I live in this like hill country. They call it real steep. I'm
Yeah.
playing thermals just like out west.
Yep.
But maybe guys that are living in more flatter regions or whatever, basically
Hmm.
thermals. cold air rises, hot air sinks. So it's a little bit more predictable. Like it can get all finicky here because the elevation changes it
Yeah.
as much, but that's essentially it in a nutshell. And that's what you're going to be mindful of. So when you get up in the morning, you want to do your big hike, that wind's coming down in your face, and kind of makes most of the sense to try to get maybe parallel where you think elk might be or deer might be,
Mhm.
or just set yourself up to where you're going to have it at least in your favor, or not just in your favor, at least it's not screwing you over. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's
Doesn't have to be perfectly in your favor, but it can't screw the pooch for you.
right.
When I was talking about the bull I killed and the approach I made this year, that came from knowing that the best approach I could take was going to put me below them, and my thermals were going to be going up into their bedding area or where I'd seen them go into to bed midday. And I said, I can't do that. So I'm going to wait until 3 a.m. when it's the dead of night, and I'm going to hike up in there in the dark. And then once the sun rises and those thermals start coming up, well, I'm already up there, right?
Right.
And I'm ready. If you've never experienced the thermals, go do some research. Like, there's tons of cool YouTube videos and stuff on it explaining it because it was a very foreign concept to me for a while. And honestly, I kind of wrote it off as like, oh, that's archery stuff. I don't need to know that. But go, I mean, it's not the craziest concept, but go watch some videos and there's great people explaining it. But even then, if you don't watch a video, come out here and you'll see. Like when the sun comes up and the earth gets warmed, you will feel the thermals and how they play. But you kind of have to pay attention to it. Otherwise, you're just gonna be like, oh, that's just the wind. No, there's a prevailing wind, but there's also thermals. So just do some research on that and be mindful of it. But yeah, you're right. That's a huge piece of the equation out here that gets overlooked sometimes.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, I mean, there's many things that affect it as well. So if
Mm-hmm.
you're hunting like a west face, and I mean that sun's kind of up in the east, like that east face of that ridge, it's heating that up. Thermals might be rising there, but where you're at on the west face, especially if you're in dark timber, it's not going to be rising at the same time. That
Yep.
whole ground is still going to be cold enough where they're coming down. And these are all just like kind of little things you learn as you go. At least I've like picked up
Yeah.
on. But I try to be mindful of like not, and I've learned this lesson so many times, like not just mindful of my wind, but like be mindful of like the wind. Like if you're lucky enough to like see a herd of elk like way far away, like
Yeah.
what's the thermals doing over there as
Yep.
well? Because
Yeah.
they could be different from where you are and they are. So
Yeah. And they usually are. And the crappiest thing is a lot of times the reason they like to be where they are is because the thermals interact with prevailing winds or they interact with different faces in a way that it will swirl. So if you do everything you can to read the thermals right and you get in somewhere and it's just swirling on you, don't feel bad. Like that happens to all of us.
yeah,
Like you're gonna get in some scenarios and be like, I went, a half mile that way and 1,000 vert to play the wind right, and then I got up there and it's just spiraling, and it's like, well, yeah, that's why they like to be there.
yep.
I don't know what to tell you, but try to be mindful of it wherever you can.
Mm-hmm. And don't. Our whitetails, our bucks. That's a common thing here. They like to find that ridge where that prevailing wind on that leeward side kind of meets
Yeah,
that upward thermal, and they're just smart. And that's why
yeah,
they're
they
there.
know what they're doing.
Yeah, they know what they're doing. And then don't also be like me. I put together that YouTube video of when I went to Colorado and arrowed that cow, but I had a couple stalks on herds in that video, and I laugh like when I was editing it because I was on like my camera and I was like, I got this herd below me. I got good wind. I'm going to stalk down. And I was kind of like lying to myself because I just wanted
Yeah,
to kill one so bad.
because you want it to be
So
right.
you tell yourself, like, yeah, I got good wind. But what happened was it had just rained and it was all overcast. And it was the afternoon,
Ah,
but that sun was
yeah,
gone. It was dark and that ground was all wet. So I would
and
like hit my wind checker and like I would get maybe some wind like pulling up and like I started creeping down. They're only like, dude, a couple dozen had elk like down below me.
yeah,
And then, but like that ground and everything with the overcast, and then it would like switch and go back down. And then I was just like, and you play that game of like, I just got to be
yep,
aggressive.
yeah,
Take a couple more steps. And then in the timber, like I saw them feeding in this meadow, but in the timber directly below me, all these cows blows out the
yeah,
whole herd. And I'm like, damn, man, this is why you hear stories of guys that are really successful. They go back to like, not even camp, but like they just go back over the next ridge
yep.
and they'll be like,
Wait
yeah,
it
we've been
out.
sitting here for 4 hours till the thermal switch.
Uh-huh.
and you're sitting there. I'm saying all this because this is me. I'm sitting there on the couch watching them on YouTube, being like, "Get your ass over there and shoot the elk." But
Yeah.
you're never gonna win it. You're never gonna
Yeah.
beat an elk's nose ever. So
And you might get lucky in a scenario where it swirls and they run the wrong way because they don't know where it's coming from, and then they're in your
true.
lap, or you catch the 20 minutes right in a little window where it's moving right, or it doesn't swirl the wrong way or whatever, and you might get lucky, but you're never gonna walk into something knowing full well that it is 100% the wrong wind and still get it done. That
Right.
you might get lucky on a fluke, but it's not gonna it's never gonna be, hey, I know the odds are against me on wind. It's not that the odds are against you. They will full blown fuck up your hunt.
Yep.
There are no odds. It's 100% or zero. But what you just said is important for a lot of guys to realize. On a lot of those videos, man, those guys, they can go back to their camp or their glassing knob or the other side of the hill and wait because they've got a 14-day hunt.
True.
If you are the type of guy who's like, man, I need at bats, I only have 2 days left, or hey, I've got this group of elk, but I know there's another group over there, and I want to check this group in the bottom, and clock's ticking. Maybe you do push the envelope, right? Roll the dice, see what happens. But just like I said, know full well that if you're completely ignoring the wind, not, oh, it might be right,
Yeah.
it's changing, whatever. Know that if it's like it's going down and I'm going down there with it, you're wrong.
Right.
Like
Right.
that's not even a chance.
There's a little bit different too because I had to get in a bow range, so it was.
Yes.
I was almost also playing that game too of like, no, it had to be like really freaking good. And
Yes.
rifle
Yeah.
might be able to like just by the nature of the effective range of the weapon.
Yeah.
But either way, don't bank on the flukes.
No, don't bank on the flukes.
No,
Yeah, that's the
just
best way to put it.
always be mindful and don't
Yeah.
lie to yourself for which way the wind's
Yeah.
blowing.
And don't be surprised either. Like, don't go in there and be like, "Oh, I thought it was all gonna work out." It's like, no, dummy, you knew the wind was wrong.
Yeah.
Like, don't don't lie to yourself.
And every big killer, elk killer, whatever, for every bull they've killed, they'll probably tell you, yeah, I blew out dozens of them.
Oh
for
yeah,
the same
and you
thing.
kind of
So it's
have
like
to.
it's okay.
Like,
You just
yeah,
gotta
you
learn
have
and
to. Yeah, go do it.
yeah. All right, man. Well, I think this was a great conversation. I think there was a lot of great nuggets for guys,
Dude, yeah.
especially the first-time guys or guys that's been going out for a few years and they're just still looking to learn. So I think this was a great talk. I think we touched on everything I wanted to touch on here. And yeah, dude, appreciate you hopping on. You are just
Sweet.
another guy that I like to see on Instagram and like everything. Pictures of like the bulls and the bucks, and it's just like here's another dude like just getting it done. And like at the end of the day, people can say whatever they want. Like hunting out west, there's too many people, it's too hard to get tags or whatever. You look at guys like Garrison, still getting it done. So
yeah, you can still. I'm living proof. You can be dumb and stubborn and still get it done. That's all you need. You just got to keep going. What's real quick? What's on your calendar again? I know you. Are you doing Colorado deer and elk or just deer?
Yeah, so I'm doing that. I knew it. I was wrapping up here and I was like, I thought I had one more thing I want to ask you. I wanted to ask about your fall. But yeah, my fall is going to be, so I put in for Colorado an archery deer tag. Should draw it with me and my one buddy. And then going to go and hunt that first. Pretty much all my work vacations for the month of September.
Cool.
Go and hunt that first. And then I'm going to like regroup in Denver. Maybe we'll touch base. I might be there for a couple days, just like kind of regrouping.
We should.
Yeah, my cousin lives there. And then
definitely.
I'm going to bounce then to Idaho to hunt elk with another buddy who's going to fly
That's
out,
right.
meet him there,
Okay.
and go. We already got those tags, so that's in.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're doing exactly what we're talking about. You're going with the tags that you can get, right? We're not like for guys that are listening that are like, oh, this sounds unachievable. What do I need to do? Like, you're doing the hunts this year that are like, I guess it is a draw archery tag for deer, but it's very attainable. You're going Idaho. You already have that tag.
Yeah.
Right?
I'll be transparent. 1 point. 1 point deer.
Yeah, 1 point. 1 point for archery deer.
The Idaho, and I was thinking about making a video about this. Like, if I didn't know anything about Western hunting, I want to try to go for the next 5 years, 4 years. Here's what I could do. I mean,
Yeah.
there's options. So like that Idaho deer or elk tag, you log in December. I mean, apparently that all might change, but we logged in. We got
Yeah.
decent numbers, and it was actually awesome. Our numbers were pretty close together, so you
Oh,
don't
no way. Y'all
go in.
lucked out.
Yeah, we really lucked out. I was like number 6,000, and he was 7,000. And I was like, dude,
Yeah.
I think we can like make this happen. So we had one of our zones we were eyeing up was still available. There was still like 100 tags left. I was like, dude, I'm buying this. He came in
Yeah.
right behind me, bought the other one. So pretty lucky to get like two guys go hunt Idaho because you can't do like a party
Yeah.
thing. So it
Hmm.
lucked out. And then the deer was a 1 point. It's a 1 point deer. So
Hey, that's awesome.
yeah,
And anybody listening that's interested, that the video you're talking about making, guys, 5 years ago, that video would have been totally different, and it will be different again 5 years from now.
that'll be the
So
huge
whatever
preface. Yeah.
whatever is there, like it's ripe for the picking. You got to go do it. And again, I live here. I hate the crowding just as much as anybody else. But you have to go do these things while they're available. Otherwise, you're just going to be looking in the rear view going, like, shit, I should have done that when it was available. And you and I are chasing the coattails of guys who had it better than us, and they'll tell you the same thing, man. Like all these tags we're talking about used to be so easy to get, and you hear it all the time. I used to be able to get the Arizona strip archery as
Yeah.
OTC, and it's like, man, if you're even thinking about this a little bit, you got to pull the trigger and come do it while it's available. Otherwise, you're just going to be chasing point creep and things that could have been, coulda, shoulda, woulda.
Absolutely. Buy points. Go get the at bats. It's
Yeah.
real. Still doable. All right. What's
Buy points, kill cows.
That's it. That's it. What's Garrison's 2025 looking like?
Ooh, okay. I honestly, a lot of my hunts right now that are cemented are other people's hunts. I've got a buddy who's going to do a muzzy tag. I've got a buddy who's going to do an archery tag these are both for deer. Um, I hate to say it, elk's going to take a backseat for me after that bull this last year.
Oh,
Um,
how dare
I
you?
know I'll get a cow tag or I'll do something, or I might go get that same tag and go hunt those bulls again and just, see if I can fill my cup that way. This is a crazy side note. I actually ended up losing all the meat on that bull.
Whoa! I didn't know
Yeah,
this.
yeah.
What
And I'm
happened?
not gonna badmouth anybody here. It was just a very fluke deal, but I've got a processor here in Denver that I love and I know and I trust, and there was a transfer of ownership. There was a change of hands, and I don't know if it happened mid-season or right after I dropped my bull off or whatever. But when I went to pick my bull up, the first batch of meat we cooked was sour and nasty,
No.
and I took such good care of that thing. I mean, I killed it in the snow. It
You know,
was it was
I was gonna say it was
perfect.
cold. You
It
can't
was
fuck it up.
perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, can't fuck it up. It was the perfect bull to kill. So yeah, dude, such a bummer. So maybe that's motivation for me to go back there and kill one of those bulls and actually get to eat it this time. So,
Yeah.
but deer is going to be the driver this year. I don't have plans for myself yet on deer. I'll probably try to hunt a second choice tag or pick up a turn back tag or something like that for deer here. The one hunt I am going to try to plan around though for deer is Wyoming. I'm going to try to get back to the units I hunted last year in Wyoming. Um, I really liked it. We were really close, like painfully close. It's a totally different story that I'll tell you some other time, but
Okay.
I mean, so close on some really good bucks. And yeah, I really, really want to get back there and see if we can close the chapter on that one. So that's going to be the first part of October. I'll probably end up with a second or third tag for deer, but that's all I got.
All right. Well, it still sounds like it's gonna be a lot of adventure. And God, that sucks about that bull, dude.
Dude,
That
right?
that's
Total
bullshit.
heartbreaker.
That's
Total heartbreaker. Yeah. Yeah, I'll tell you who was more sad than anybody was my freaking wife. She burns through our venison, and I was actually out of town. And she called me and goes, "Babe, this venison, it just doesn't taste good." And I go, "Well, you just did something weird. Like
it's
that's
your
the
fault.
best elk I could have killed. I killed him in the snow. Like it's your fault." And sure enough, I came back and cooked it. It tastes like
Man, dude.
someone just poured a cup of sour milk in it. Um, so yeah, it was a bummer. It was a real bummer.
That
But
sucks.
yeah, just gotta go kill more stuff.
That's all. Yep.
What do we buy points buy points kill cows?
Yeah.
Print
Beats me.
print the t-shirt now.
Yeah.
That's
I
that's
know.
that's
I
what we're
like
doing.
it. Yeah. I just had some elk steak. It was a cow. Couldn't told
Yeah,
me. Might as well have been a six
dude.
by six.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can tell everybody it was.
Yeah, I will.
Tastes the same.
All right, man. Well, if people want to keep up with your fall and then everything going
Mhm.
forward, all the stuff you're about, where can people find you? Go ahead.
I'm on Facebook and Instagram and all that jazz. It's just my name, just Garrison Kinsel. So, and like I said, I think you and I both have a unique perspective for a lot of guys that want to come out here. They're used to whitetail. They're used to being out east. They're on a limited time. I'm happy to talk to anybody from that lens. And I'll talk to anybody, but especially the guys that are coming out here on a limited time and it's their first time out. Really got a heart for people like that. So if you got any questions at all, there's no such thing as a dumb question. Happy to hit me up. I just love talking shop with people. So it's
Yeah,
all good.
absolutely, man. Well, good deal. Appreciate your time. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Reach out to Garrison if you got any questions on anything we talked about today, and we will catch you on the next one. See ya.
Sweet. Thanks, man.
Yep. Take care. Hey, if you like that episode, please share it with a friend, share it on your story, and give the podcast a rating and a review on wherever you listen. For more of this type of content, you can head over to the YouTube channel and follow along on all the social platforms. Really appreciate it. See you on the mountain.